that was within a month of showing up, and the U-2 was actually shot at in southern no-fly zone.
2 weeks after 9/11 in 2001, then Second Lieutenant Matthew Reilman was assigned to Beale Air Force Base in California.
Really quickly, Second Lieutenant Reilman was deployed downrange with Operation Enduring Freedoms.
One of his first assignments was briefing commanders on the attempted downing of that U-2 reconnaissance plane over southern Iraq.
So we had to get up there and kind of articulate what was happening, what we knew, what we didn't know, and then try to help him understand what happened to one of his aircraft over the skies of Iraq.
Beale is home to the Air Force U-2 operations, and Reilman immediately put to use what he just learned at Goodfellow.
And that was probably one lesson I learned early, was that trust and confidence and that initial training, that while I'd never done that before, we practiced it here at Intel School. You're really trying to paint that picture of what exactly happened to help them buy that risk down, the risk to the platform, the pilot, and ultimately continue operations on that kind of wartime footing. And you don't realize that as a lieutenant when you're kind of briefing it, but then sitting on the other side of the table, that's kind of where the commander's mind is how do we make sure this doesn't happen again? How do we get procedures in place to make sure that we know what's going on when it's happening so that we don't get in that spot?
Over his 20-year career so far, Colonel Reilman has learned how intelligence drives operations. He spent 3 years during several missions at the Pentagon in Washington.
Walking into that building every day, I usually walk in from North Parking. It's like a 12-minute walk because I can get anywhere in San Angelo faster than I can walk from my parking spot. But you can see downtown D.C. and then walking to the Pentagon. You know that's where a lot of the critical decisions are made for national defense. And you have to think about that as you walk up, because sometimes it's really draining to just working through tasks and a lot of the things that you think are mundane. But I had the opportunity to work for some incredible leaders on the air staff, the A26, so in charge of intelligence and cyber effects. And working for Lieutenant General Jameson and Lieutenant General O'Brien, I knew a lot of what we were doing, right? You're shaping a lot of the discussion, the talking points, briefings, and being in the room for the Secretary of the Air Force and the Chief of Staff of the Air Force, and a lot of times leading preparation for them in order to go talk to SecDef or the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, which is usually the precursor to going and talking to the White House. At that point, you know you're only a few steps removed from some significant national security decision.
And now, just months after arriving at Goodfellow as commander of the 17th Training Wing, he's reinstated the Goodfellow Ever Into Danger training motto for the thousands of intel and fire students who come to Goodfellow each year.
We've really started to reinvigorate kind of our wing motto. So Ever Into Danger is our legacy from the 17th Pursuit Group and Bomb Group. So all the way back to the history and heritage we have to World War I, that Ever Into Danger is what I'm trying to convey to everybody again. Kind of like my experience, I was deployed within 3 months of getting to my first duty station. As the threat continues to change and evolve, these students, whether it's intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance, or even the firefighters, they don't know where they're going to find themselves or what they're going to find themselves in, but we have graduates that are all over the world, so they have to have that trust that what we're training them to do, they're ready day one when they show up at their job.